As I mentioned in other videos, I'm a messy, disorganized kind of guy. But I want to make it better. So I have a whole whackload of these fishing lure containers that I use for storing small parts for quads and stuff like that. Some of it's going to be deleted because I don't need them anymore, but some of it should stick around. And I have different types all over the place. So the most I have are these, and I'm going to create something in this area that's going to organize these, provide a little bit of an extra shelf for stuff on top, and make it easier for me to grab stuff. Because if I need this one down here, I have to grab this one. It's just a pain in the bum. And if I just stack them all this way, they tilt and fall down. So I think we saw a solution previously on the nail gun cart. Let me work on this. Okay, I'm not as smart as Rex, but I at least can do some math and I have opposable thumbs. So here's my list of 30 seconds, 16ths, 8ths, quarters, and halves, because I gotta figure this out. I need a 2-inch spacing for the 1/8 inch hardboard. So I need 2 1/8 inch distance between each of the dividers. The first divider will go in at 2 3/4 of an inch. So the reason I'm using that spacing is that the board I found is this one. It's a leftover from our builder. It's 3/4-ish thick, a little bit less, so it'll be good enough. So if I make my first one at 2 3/4, first groove, that should work. And then it'll be 4 inches, 28, 30 seconds, because my Incra fence gauge has 30 seconds in it and I can follow those along. And then it'll be 7 inches. So I'm gonna do a test cut on that, and that'll give me 2 trays, and I got some scraps left over I can use with that. Make sure my calculations are good before I start cutting things for real. So let me get a test piece going and let's go from there. All right, test piece is cut. I have it set to about 2 inches. And it's perfect there, perfect there, perfect there. So my spacing works good. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut grooves across this whole panel. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out the width of the panel I need, cut it in half. That way all my grooves line up and I have the top and bottom done all in one shot, rather than trying to do the top and then the next piece and the bottom of the next piece. It just makes it easier to do it all at once. I wish I had done it with that thing, but you know, I only had small pieces to work with. So gotta work with what you got. All right, so I have my cut list, cut lines, whatever, my program for it. I worked it all out. So I kind of, as I was going along, I'm not good with this stupid fractional stuff. So I figured out that if I document it 9, and that's 4 30 seconds, 11, 8 30 seconds, 13, 12 30 seconds. So that's my 2 inch and 4 30 seconds, which is 1/8 of an inch, which is the width of my saw blade. I don't know. I'm trying to document it this way. I went all the way down to 15 slots. That'll give me a board that's just over 33 inches wide, which will fit perfectly in the space I need. Anyways, time to get cutting. Oh, these all, so 1 through 14 will all be shallow cuts like this. And number 15 will be a full through cut. And that should give me the 15 sections? I don't know. I'll cut it up. We'll see what I end up with. Just before I start cutting, always make sure you find 2 factory edges. Thankfully, this offcut has 1 factory edge here and 1 factory edge here. I checked it with my square and we're 100% good to go. So I'm going to use this as my reference point, starting on the edge of the fence for the cross cuts for the slots, and then this edge for ripping it all to width. Whatever end ends up yeah, this will be facing down, so the pre-prime or the primed white face will be on the inside. Don't care. All right, all of the slots are cut. Now I just got to figure out how deep I want the unit and how tall to make the sides. once I have that all done, then I'll measure the length from the bottom of the bottom groove to the top of the top groove, and then I'll cut the 1/8 inch hardboard into little sections. Probably not going to make it full width, just enough to keep them from flopping into each other and keep them separated to some extent. Otherwise, it turned out really good. I had to shorten this up by 1 slot. I've got 14. Again, the end ones are wider for where the board is going to be glued and attached here, because the Incra fence will only let you cut 32 inches, and the other one would have gone just over 33 inches. So I had to reduce that by 1 slot, so it's 14 instead of 15, which is fine. I can get around that with the Incra fence by, reducing these things, removing, undoing some set screws and moving the whole unit this way. I've actually marked it out where I can get up to a 48 inch wide cut. And if we walk around here, the Incra tape measure itself actually has an ability to have a 20 inch offset. So 0 when the fence is in this position. If I move it that way 20 inches, will get me to 20 inches. So you're starting from 20 and now counting up from there, and that'll get me to, well, I guess 52 inches. So I could do that, but that means pulling this out and then making sure it's all set up properly, square. Forget that stuff. It's easier just to cut it off by one section. Alrighty, good to go. So these cases are about 14 inches wide, so I'll cut these 14. The total length of this scrap is just over 30, or just under 30 inches, so I'm good to go there. The height I need, and the way I always do it is if you have multiples, get 2 of them, put a board on top. So I need it to be just around 9 inches-ish. There we go. So I'm going to add 1 inch for wiggle room, so 10 inches it is. All right, so the ends are done up. I'm just going to pocket screw them in. To be able to find, because normally I just do pocket screws wherever, I don't care. I usually offset with whatever offset this is to the edge of the unit here for the ends, but in the middle, I usually just wing it. Thought, well, let's try and be a little bit more scientific this time. So I have here a center point tape. I just tested out. So it's great because I know that the whole thing is exactly 14 inches wide. And if I go to well, it helps if I do it the right way, but it's got the wrong arm for my holding here. There we go. So it's 14 inches wide. So if I look at 14 inches in the middle, it also corresponds to 7. Does the math for you. Not so big of a deal when it's 14 and 7, but if you start getting it to 13 inches, well, then it automatically gives you your 6.5. But if you're 12.5, it'll give you your 6.25. Kind of just helps calculate a little quicker for you. Anyways, thought I'd use it. Worked out good. So I don't know how I goofed this up, and I'm darn sure that I have my table saw dialed in and that everything's working good. But if I line up this corner, and I know this edge is square and that edge is square, I checked it with my square. And if I line up all of the slots, front to back, it looks good that way. But if I come over here, what the heck? What son of a, oh boy, crap. So how am I going to fix this? I think what I'm going to do is, I know that this edge is parallel. I'm going to do some testing on the table saw right away to this edge over here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape and CA glue these 2 boards together, run this edge along the fence, cut both boards on this side, make them totally parallel, because this is out on this side too. And we can see there. So I'll make them both parallel, and then Then when that side's done, I'll spin it around and make this side parallel and make sure that all my corners are 90. What the heck? Oh well. This is ways you fix the little oopsies that happen. All right. It's basically made. I kind of goofed up just a little bit. One of these is not quite 2 inches. I forgot to account for the curve of the blade on the far end when I cut it off, but too late now. The other parts seem to be good. It's now square. Took the machinist square to it. Looks good. I could probably touch these edges up by sanding them down a little bit, but it's a piece of shop furniture. Why bother? So next is to cut the dividers. I'm probably thinking I'm just going to put a little rail on the back end there to keep the cases from scooching all the way through. Keep it somewhat square and keep the little dividers from flopping out. Again, this is all with shop offcuts and scraps I have hanging around just to kind of get things cleaned up for bigger projects. Yep, he's out with me again. Just getting in trouble. Yeah, you know you're in trouble. He found, a Santa hat was chewing on it. Anyways, so the carcass is done, all finished up, and I had 2 pieces that were just, in total, a little bit taller than the whole thing, and I decided to leave it taller so that if I put stuff on top, it won't just flop over the back. So, not a flaw, it's a feature. All right, turned out good. It all works out really well. Even the super tight one here will fit a container. I have one that'll fit perfectly in here. It's not one of these, but now it allows me to stand these up. It's easy to grab one, pull it out. I thought I might have to put like a little tab or something on here to pull them out, but no, this works out good. I can just grab the lip. I can put a little label on each of these and I know exactly what's in there. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and even though I had a couple oopsies, turned out perfect. Have a great day.